All right, this is a story which is a mashal. What do they call it? A mashal? It is
A mashal, a parable?
a parable. 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 It's a parable. It's a fable, whatever you want to call it, but it has a point to it. There's different versions of the story, but I'll tell you this is how I heard the story. Once there was a Jew that went on uh, a journey, a long journey. He was going to India or something to buy precious gems and to bring them back to Poland, wherever he was, and he would sell them. And he would sell them. And I'm thinking, all of a sudden, a different story popped into my mind, and maybe I'll tell this other story. All right, I'll tell the story meanwhile. So the ship sank. He was on a ship in the middle of the ocean, who knows where, and the ship sank, and somehow or other, he grabbed onto a the life jacket, and the one of the lifeboats went by. It seems that everybody drowned. Anyway, he grabs onto this lifeboat and he pulls himself in. He doesn't know how long he's in on the sea, but after a while, he feels that he's on dry land, and he has this tarp that he put over the top to keep with. So he finds he's on a desert island, some sort of a desert island, an island. So he gets out. He thanks God that he's still alive, and he sees there's a tree with some fruits in it. Whatever, he eats the fruits, and he starts walking, and he looks on the ground, and he sees there's a big diamond. He's a person that understands jewels. A big diamond on the ground. It's amazing. He looks at it, he can't believe it. I guess he still has his little, his glass, his little magnifying glass. He look, it's amazing. So he puts and he goes a little further, and there's a ruby, and he says it's a sapphire. And it's all these precious jewel gems are all over. He just takes them and he puts them into his shirt. He takes his shirt off and he puts them into his shirt, makes a bag. He's gathering all these diamonds up, and here's laughing. And he looks up, and there's these little kids, and they're laughing at him. And he says, "Well, how am I going to hide these gems?" And a person comes over to him and says, "Excuse me, sir, who are you?" He said, "Listen, my ship sank, and I'm far away, and I don't know where I am." He says, "Well, what are you picking up these stones for?" He says, "Stones." He looks around. He says, "Listen, these things are gems. They're precious. They're worth a fortune. Worth it. Don't tell anybody." He says, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You're out of your mind. The streets are full of these things, right? These things they're everywhere." He looks and he sees, yes, he's right. The streets are filled with sapphires and diamonds and rubies and precious stones. And he says, "Well, I guess you're right." So he lets all the diamonds go, and he had to put a couple in his pockets. He takes them out of his pocket. He says, "Where am I?" He says, "You're in such and such a country." He says, "Well, here they don't have money." He says, "Of course. What are you talking about? We have money. What's valuable? Here is fish. Fish is valuable. Fish." He said, "Yeah, fish. What are you going to do with diamonds? You can't do anything with them. What do they do? They look nice, but fish, on the other hand, it's hard to catch them, and you can eat them. They're useful." And so anyway, he gets integrated into the society over there with the people, and he's a businessman. He's a businessman. So eventually, he gets some simple job. He gets fish, and he gets more fish, and then he develops some sort of a way to preserve fish. Right up to now, they didn't. They only had a way to put the fish under the ground, whatever it would preserve for a couple of days. He figured out a way to preserve fish for like a couple of weeks, and he worked on it even more, and he sold these things, and he made a lot of money. And finally, he was very rich. And after like a couple of years, he had amassed a fortune in fish, and he had it in his refrigerators. And suddenly he thought, "Hey, what am I doing over here? My house is in Poland. I want to go back." So he tells the people, "Listen, I would like to get back. I want to go back to the Poland. How can I do it?" So they said, "Well, what do you want to go back there for? Here, you're a future, you're rich." I said, "Because I have a family, I have a wife and family." I want to go back. So they say, okay, we can explain to you how to go back, but what about all your riches? You're going to give all your riches to us? No. So he worked on it. So he had refrigeration put into this ship that he had, and he stuffed the thing with fish, and he got the map, and he wanted he was the crew himself. He was the crew himself, and he set off and he went. And it took him a little bit longer than he thought. He thought he would make it in a week, and it took him like a month or something. In the meantime, the refrigeration it stopped working for a while, and the fish started to rot. But he didn't notice it because it happened very gradually. And finally, he gets back to his home, and he sees the people are on the dock, and they're all waving to him. He says, "Oh, the people, they're all waiting for me. They're this," and he gets in. The people are one yells out from a megaphone, "Get away from here! You're smelling." Everybody's going, "Get out of here!" They're holding their noses. It smells terrible. And so what's he going to do? So he docks his ship somewhere, and he gets off, and nobody wants to come near there. Even his family is standing there. We're happy to see him, but it's terrible. It smells terrible. So all the fish got all rotten. They all rotted. Everything rotted, and the ship that he made was worth absolutely nothing because it smelled terrible anyway. But he was safe. He saved himself. So he went home. He washed himself off, and he washed up, put on new clothes, and as you said, he was happy to see his family. So he was so happy. He says, "Yeah, but I feel bad. I amassed so much fortune." He says, "Oh, one second. I do have a memento of where I was, of the place where I was." As here, it takes this big diamond out and he puts it on it. And his sons look and they say, "Where did you get that?" He says, "It's just that, it's just a diamond. The streets are full of them." He says, "Daddy, are you crazy? That's a diamond. That thing is worth maybe $1 million. We're rich people. We never saw a diamond like that." And suddenly he realizes, yes, he lost proportion. He lost, he became disoriented. What is really valuable and what is really not valuable. And they became rich people. What's the point of the story? It's a bit foolish story if you think about it, because if he had a map, so maybe he could go back there. Anyway, forget about the details. It's just a story. But the point of the story is a good point. What's the point? The point is the soul comes into the world. The soul comes into the world, and we come into this world, and you all of a sudden you get involved in, fame, fortune, pleasures, attention, whatever you get involved in the world, and you amass all this. And then after a person passes away, so all these things are like smelly fish. What are you going to do with these things I've been having? I'm popular, I got a lot of money, I have a lot of, rating, I have this, but who cares? Your soul doesn't need these things. But okay, what am I going to do? It says, one second, you did a commandment. Yeah, one of these Chabad people, they put it, command, it's a diamond, you're rich. You're rich. So we come into this world and we lose the sense of what's really valuable, namely the Torah and the commandments, and we appreciate things that are no value, no permanent value whatsoever. And that's the whole idea of this mashal, of this parable, is to understand that maybe we should reevaluate things. The world is good. Fish is good. When you're in your place, it's a good thing. But don't forget what has really true value is Torah and the commandments. Those are real lasting diamonds. Have a good day with Mashiach. Now, thank you very much. We'll see you all on Sunday at 8:15.
Have a good Shabbos. Thank you.
Have a good Shabbos.